everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Jess or Jeffy and today we are covering Bella Goth, so A Tale of Two Bellas, and we're going to be doing a history of, like a brief one, and then where she is now and what she's been up to in all that period of time since we saw her first. So yeah, welcome in. Okay, so we're going to start in chronological order, which means we're going to start with The Sims 3. So it goes The Sims 3, The Sims 1, then The Sims 2. I'm not doing The Sims 4, okay? It ain't happening, sorry. So Bella has, for me, Bella's been one of my favourite Sims throughout the whole franchise. Like, I started playing in The Sims 1 and I remember playing with Bella Goth and I could not get her to get on with any other Sims. And I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but she just didn't fucking like anyone. And she was just this queen that waltzed around in her red dress and like did magic and turned her husband into like, did all these horrible things to him with a voodoo doll, in my game anyway. And I just fucking loved her from then. So she's been iconic. Like, I think everybody has heard of Bella Goth and I feel like she's probably the most well-known Sim out there. If you disagree with me and you think there's a better well-known Sim, let me know in the comments because I'd be interested to hear if you think there's somebody else. I do think Don Lothario is well-known, but for me, I think Bella is, I just think she's the most well-known.
Sorry, I'm pressing my knuckles.
Right, so yeah, most people know her from The Sims 2, and I think that's because there's so much lore surrounding her, and it was the first time we really got lore and stuff like that, because in The Sims 1 they were in the world, but there wasn't really this huge backstory that we have for her now. Starting with The Sims 3, we first meet Bella as a child living with her family, and she's known as Bella Bachelor. You can go up, come on. Yeah. She's known as Bella Bachelor and she lives with her family. She's not married to Mortimer Goth yet because she's a child. Her traits are good, lucky and brave, and it is kind of ironic because for somebody with the lucky trait, is she that lucky though? I mean, I feel like in some ways she really is and in other ways she's really not. Red is her favourite colour. She has skills in painting and she's got the Cancer star sign. As a child, she was still quite gothic. Her room's filled with like little skulls and things like that. And even as a child, she still wears her iconic red dress, which she's worn in every single version of the game, which I just love. Obviously, it's a different style because she's a fucking child, but still. In The Sims 3, she's referred to the best dressed girl around. And at this time, her best friend is Mortimer Goth, which is adorable because they obviously are like childhood sweethearts and then they grow up to get married and have children, which is very cute and very unusual. Then moving on to The Sims 1, Bella is an adult and she's now married to Mortimer Goth, and they have Cassandra. They live in a very gothic looking house in the town that ships with the game of The Sims 1, like the original. Base game? Yeah, base game. And their house is complete with a graveyard. Little bit of trivia. The only game where the Goths don't have a graveyard is actually The Sims 4. In every other version of the game, they always have a graveyard. She still enjoys painting, she enjoys golf and piano, and she has a large paranormal interest. Her family, the Bachelors, are also still in town. And that's sort of all there really is about Bella in The Sims 1. She's just there living her best life, being a bitch to everyone, and I love that for her. And then moving on to The Sims 2, which is arguably like where most people know her from because of the fact that her storyline is so just good, just very good, regardless of whether they did it on purpose or it was a mistake on EA's part and then they had to sort of rectify the mistake. It worked out beautifully and it gave us so much lore, and I just big fat love that, so it's wonderful. So the Goths are living in Pleasantview in a nice big gothic house with a graveyard, and there's lots of ghosts that come out at night and wreck your lawns sometimes, which is kind of annoying because if they drowned, not the Goths, but I don't know if there's any like water ghosts at the Goths. I don't think there is. But if like you have a ghost that died by drowning in The Sims 2, they'll like leave puddles around your lot and then you'll get loads of weeds. So, but yeah, they're living in Pleasantview. Mortimer is an elder, Cassandra is an adult. We can see from the family tree, Bella is also an adult, and they have a child called Alexander. But, and this is where the thick plot ends, Bella is actually missing when you load into the game. So you load in and she's gone, and Mortimer's involved with Dina Caliente, Cassandra is involved with Don Lothario, and Alex is just a kid. So she must have been missing for like an okay amount of time for Mortimer to have like moved on and stuff like that. But she hasn't been missing for that long because Alexander still has memories of his mum, and if you get the fingerprint scanner and scan their house, you can see that she's actually touched furniture not that long ago. So I think, regardless of how long it is, whether it's long or short, Morty can move on if he wants. But if it hasn't been that long, I do wonder if the Calientes are sort of manipulating him. Which, I mean, they are manipulating him, but in that way as well. The Bachelors don't appear in Pleasantview. Both her parents have died, and her brother Michael Bachelor is also dead. He technically is kind of in game because he was married to Dina Caliente, and he shows up in a little urn on her side table in her house. The family tree obviously shows that she's alive and kicking because we can see that she's not greyed out. So we know that she's alive, and we know that it hasn't been that long since she's been missing. The last time Bella was seen in her last known location was on Don Lothario's deck. And this is interesting because obviously Don Lothario is engaged with Cassandra Goth, her daughter. They're actually engaged. And if we look at Don's memories, we know that he tried to make a move on her, but he was denied. Like, she was like, absolutely bloody not, you're marrying my daughter, get back, sir. So he probably shouldn't have tried it on with her. Anyway, that was the last place she was seen. And she was peering through a telescope, which the thick plottens even more, friends, because the Caliente sisters, Dina wants to marry Mortimer for his money. She knows that he's rich because she was married to Bella's brother, so she knows Bella. Both of the Caliente sisters are involved with Don, who tried it on with Bella, and then she goes missing. So, I'm not being funny, it's all a bit bloody fishy, isn't it? There's all these wild conspiracies. So did they have something to do with it? Because the Caliente sisters, if you have a look at their family tree, I'll hide my beautiful dog by putting the family tree there. If you have a look at their family tree, you can see that they are also part alien. So did they call on somebody to abduct her by aliens? Maybe. She isn't dead, so I know there's like different theories floating around, and some people say, oh, maybe she was murdered. She's not dead because her picture's still blue. She ain't dead. So yeah, she was last seen there. And then she doesn't show up in the town at all. The Caliente sisters' bio also says, is it coincidence that they arrived on the eve of her Bella's disappearance, and is Dina's interest in Mortimer physical or fiscal? So go figure. I have written a script, right, but I'm jumping around all over the place because I've got an ADHD brain, so there is that. So I'm kind of jumping around and I'm trying to stick to my script. I'm trying very hard, so that might be why I'm like a bit all over the place. And then, if we have a look in the game, we know that Bella doesn't show up in Pleasantview, but she does show up in Strangetown. And this is why it's called the Tale of Two Bellas, right? Because there's two Bellas. There's Strangetown Bella and then there's Pleasantview Bella. And if you put them side by side, right, there are noticeable differences in how they look. EA have said that they're the same Bella. So I wonder personally whether when she was abducted by aliens, maybe the aliens did something to her facial structure while they were doing different experiments. I don't know, but she does look slightly different. And when we see her in Strangetown, she has no memories whatsoever. She has no personality points either, which makes me believe, and I think everyone believe, that the aliens have done some sort of experiment on her, which is why she doesn't have any personality or memories. So that's where she is, and she's a townie, so she's not a playable sim unless you move her into your household. You have to be really careful with getting Bella back, and if you want her back in Pleasantview, there is a way of doing it, and you can get her through Meet Me to the Rivers clean template, which I have done a video on how I got my Uber hood working, but I'll put the link to their Tumblr in the description below, and I'll put up a link to the video up here of the how I got my Uber hood working. So you can get her back. But yeah, so she's in Strangetown and she doesn't really know what's happened to her. Like I said, she's got no memories at all. With Bella, like, because she's obviously missing and she's such an iconic sim, she shows up on the milk bottle box in game, so her face is on there. But she also shows up throughout the game in a lot of different places. So there's paintings of her. There's also a record case on the DJ booth. She's on the face of that. The statue in Belladonna Cove is like widely believed to be Bella Goth. She's f***ing everywhere, and I just love that for her. So there was also an interview done with Bella a few years later, and it can be found through the Wayback Machine on the Sims 2 website. and I'll link that in the description if you do want to have a read as well. But the interview takes place in Strangetown, and Bella still doesn't have her memories back. She's working with a therapist and trying to recover these, as well as reading her diary. So I guess she must have had her diary on her when she was abducted by aliens. Bella is beginning to remember her family at this point, but does not have all of her memories back yet. She does remember being abducted by aliens, so that's confirmed, but she doesn't remember all the details of it and doesn't remember a crash. So the crashed ship in Strangetown may or may not be from Bella, but we won't know because she doesn't have all of her memories back. And that's kind of where we're at with Bella. Her bio read along the lines of... Or is this one? That was not watching TLC. Because it talks about golf and the golf, right? I want to know which game it is in. Let me check. Oh, here we go. So in The Sims 1, she's described as elegant and athletic are two qualities that describe Bella. She enjoys a variety of activities, from golf to miniature golf. Anyway, irrelevant, but I just like it. And if you have a look at Will Wright, who obviously created The Sims, his Twitter account, on his little bio, it used to say that. I think it still does, but it has that as his bio. But that's Bella, that's all the history of. It's just a brief one, but that's that. And now we will get into what she's been doing and where is she now. So let's go. Okay, so where is she 25 years later? As you'll know from watching the Goth family video, we know that Bella arrived home after working with her therapist, and she got some of her memories back and found a way home. Her and Mortimer decided to pick up where they left off, and shortly after she did arrive home, he proposed to her in the very spot that he saw her again, and she accepted because she wanted her family back. The day of the wedding swung around, and Bella unfortunately couldn't go through with it. And she did leave Mortimer at the altar, which was very sad. She still loves him, and she knows that she loves him. She loves her family, but she felt like marrying him just didn't feel right. Like I say, she loved him, but it was a very different kind of love now after everything she'd gone through, and like having to relearn who they were. It just didn't feel the same for her. So she basically. And then her and Mortimer eventually did get their relationship back, so he was really hurt, understandably. But he moved on, which you'll know, and she's still a big part of his life, and he's still a very big part of her life. And she stayed around the children, but she did move out of the home. Though she carried on working with her therapist, and she decided to open up about what happened to her in a blog post, which she wasn't expecting to be really seen that much, but because of Bella being Bella and her being a high-profile missing person, the blog actually blew up overnight. She was receiving quite a lot of media attention, and people were asking her all sorts of questions, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to speak to them because she didn't want her words to be twisted. However, a few months later, she decided that she would go on TV on Sims Broadcasting Network, the same one that she did an interview with like years and years before in Strangetown, in their Strangetown one. She was interviewed by, that's a lovely ball on, bro. She was interviewed by Candice B. For Real. Yeah, and enjoy giving her side of the story. So she went through all the makeup process, she had her interview and actually really enjoyed it. She felt a lot more comfortable in front of the camera than she'd expected to feel, and she was happy and excited to be given her point of view and her part of the story. Following this interview, Bella then went on to give several more TV interviews and magazine interviews talking about her experiences. She was asked back onto Sims Broadcasting Network and did a couple more interviews with Candice, and they ended up having like a little talk show portion of the show. Is that the right word? Talk show? A little panel sort of part of the show where she would talk about different paranormal things and different things that had happened to her and her experiences with them. And that lasted a few months, and it was only supposed to be like a short-term thing, and she really enjoyed it. Following on from this, she was actually offered a job in the show business career, which felt like the right thing to do for her at the time, and she accepted the job. She started from the bottom, now she's here. And her newfound fame had obviously helped her, but she did still start from the bottom and worked really hard to progress to the point that she did. Bella managed to work hard enough to buy her own home in Pleasantview. Hello everyone. So I have actually recorded this bit once before, hence why I'm now in my hoodie and stuff. But when I thought I'd pressed stop recording, I actually pressed start streaming, and I streamed on Twitch accidentally. So then afterwards, because I was flustered, I ended up muting my microphone, which very rarely happens. And then when I came to recording the last bit, I was muted the whole time. So I'm redoing it now. So yes, Bella worked hard enough to buy her own house in Pleasantview with a nice pool. She's got a butler who she's good friends with, and she has like staff to help her out around the house because then she can focus on other things, which is nice. She's now an icon at career level 10 in the show business career. And one day, while attending a awards ceremony for work, she met a sim called Greg Lace. He was very eloquent and a business tycoon, so he was quite well known and well connected with the people that she knew as well. Her best friend, Candice Be For Real, I still love that I gave that name, it makes me smile every time, introduced them, and they hit it off and just ended up getting on really well. So then there was like obvious chemistry between them, and a few weeks later he called Bella to see if she wanted to go like meet up for a drink or go on a date or something. And she actually invited him over to the house to watch a movie. Sparks flew and they ended up woohooing. Bella is a romance sim, so she knew what she was doing. Greg is a pleasure sim, so they kind of worked quite nicely together. They went on quite a few dates and were seeing each other for a couple of months, which was really nice. And then it sort of fizzled out and she didn't think much of it. However, at the time that Bella started sort of dating him, Dina Caliente was also dating him. And you'll have to wait and find out in the next episode when I cover the Caliente sisters, if she found out and how she took it, if she did.
What are you smiling at?
It's all the drama, Mick. I just love it.
So yeah, things fizzled out, and then a few months later, Bella was about to hop in the shower when all of a sudden she sort of felt a bit funny and was a bit like, what's going on here then? And all of a sudden, pop! And she realised she was pregnant. So this definitely wasn't the plan. Bella hadn't intended to have any more kids at all, and definitely not with Greg, because like I say, things had fizzled out between the two of them. They had sort of hooked up a couple of times since then when they'd seen each other at parties and whatever, but they weren't actually seeing each other anymore. And she just wasn't really planning that life for herself. But she was excited, and when she phoned Greg to tell him, he was really supportive, and they decided that they would figure out a co-parenting strategy because they're still good friends, so they wanted to make sure that it all worked for the kids. Greg supported Bella really well throughout her whole pregnancy, and he was there for the birth as well, where there was another big surprise in for the pair of them. They were having twins. So she gave birth to Eloise and Eddie. And she taught them all of their toddler skills, so having the help around the house really came in handy, and being able to be flexible with her work came in handy too. So she taught them all of their skills and worked really flexibly to be able to do that with everyone and Greg to raise the twins. They're now children and they're doing really well in their private school, and they all have like a great relationship together. One evening, because every week Greg comes over for dinner to have it with the family, he was over for dinner visiting, and the children went upstairs to play. One thing led to another between Bella and Greg, and they had a kiss, which actually escalated. And after sort of years of like almost getting back together while the kids have been growing up, and they didn't, they actually finally did. Greg moved in and it all felt right, and the kids were like over the moon because all they'd ever really wanted was their mum and dad back together. A few months later, Greg proposed at home. He filled the house with rose petals and had a really nice romantic proposal, and they began organising their wedding on Tweaky Island, where they invited some friends, and they had the kids as their flower girl and their page boy, which was very cute. They're now living happily ever after in their house in Pleasantview next to Candice, and they've got a holiday home in Tweaky Island, which they now visit once a year to for the anniversary, but they take the kids as well. And they all have like a really great relationship. The kids have got great relationships with their half siblings, Alexandra and Cassandra. They get on really well with their Cassandra's daughter, what would that make her? Niece? Yeah, their niece. And yeah, they have like a great relationship together. So it's all worked out really nicely for Bella. She has been through a bit of a ringer really, and wasn't quite sure where she would end up, and she definitely hasn't ended up where she expected to. She thought she was going to stay single, work on her career, and sort of be Bella Bachelor, if you will. But Greg changed all of that, and so did the kids. So that's where Bella is 25 years later. They're very happy at the moment. And yeah, I guess you'll have to find out in next week's episode of the Caliente sisters if Dina found out and what implications that's had or might have in the future. Ella and Greg now they're back together. So I guess you'll have to find out, besties. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've had so much fun. It's really nice as well that I'm back to being able to record this and edit this, because I've got my new computer, which I've got my wonderful Twitch community to thank for that. And if you do want to come and join us over on Twitch, I stream every Monday The Sims 2, our Uberhood, which is very different from this one. And it's like very sort of community driven, so we make choices together and everything that happens is kind of affected by you guys. Every Tuesday is Zelda Breath of the Wild or Animal Crossing at the moment, because I'm very heavily into it again since the update. On Thursdays I stream Sims 3 and we've just started a Legacy. I think we're only 3 episodes into that now. And then on Fridays, I kind of play whatever tickles my pickle, which at the moment is Planet Zoo up till Christmas. And then I think I'm going to start Skyrim. So that's kind of the plan, but that's me. If you want to find me, I'll put all my socials down below, my Discord and stuff. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.